so we will go ahead and call to order the meeting, try to have our time together. We don't have a long meeting planned today, so we should be head out in time for the start. Ms. Tiffany, you do the roll call.
Alrighty. So we got Matthew Best, Miss Tanisha Fitzgerald Baker,
Present.
Brandon Harding, Dr. Bill Lyons,
Here.
Glenn McKenzie, Dave Miller,
Here.
Anderson Olds, Regina Ola, Ms. Deborah Porter, here, Mr. Stanley Taylor,
Here.
and George Underwood.
All right. We have received a copy of our minutes and we had an opportunity to review those. Are there any modifications, adjustments, or questions? Hearing none, I'd like to call for a motion for our minutes to be approved.
I move. Second.
Thank you. All right, Stephanie, you gonna vote on the vote?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, I voted in my head.
Yes.
Yes, it is. So let's just jump into announcements then.
Alrighty, so I guess I'll go ahead and start off the announcements. Did everybody hear me? Yeah, okay. Alright, so I typically provide everyone with a little update that makes, in this case, both the grant report along with the staff updates. So we'll start with the grant updates. So I just got word of a new grant opportunity with the National League of Cities. They have a smaller grant looking at, well, the name of it is Advancing Economic Mobility Opportunity. This grant looks to spark new ideas and test new theories. The one that we're looking at specifically looks at equitable support to strengthen and restart small businesses. So the award ceiling is $15,000, and this grant ends July 19th. So they just let us know what on Friday about it, and it's ending on the 19th. And so we're looking to apply as a city. As of now, we've had conversations about working with procurement to see what ways in which we can strengthen our current business space that we have as of now. The next application, or the next grant I looked into was the Love Your Block grant. This grant, it's the, which portion is about of this upcoming grant? The Love Your Block grant.
Love the block. Thank you.
So I'm looking at this national grant. In short, it provides financial assistance to applicants to elevate the voices of historically excluded groups that meaningfully engage with local partners to aid community rehabilitation. So the award ceiling is $100,000. Out of that, $40,000 would cover the costs associated with supplies and materials for like lot transformations, fixing up indoor boarding, abandoned properties, educational outreach and skills-based support for homeowners that are potentially facing foreclosure. So in short, it's a grant that looks at rehabilitating communities and neighborhoods. The really cool aspect about this grant that I really like, especially how it ties in with the task force, this grant has a mini grant component in which we would work with neighborhood associations to provide micro grants, anywhere ranging from $500 to $2,000. So that way neighborhoods themselves can use this money to redesign and implement programs within their neighborhoods. One of the really cool aspects, I've had conversations with our neighborhoods department at the city, and one of the things that has been discussed, which we'd like to see, is more neighborhood formation in the East Knoxville community. That's one of the spaces where we don't have as many active local community groups. And so I think that this grant could also be a space to propel forward in that area. All right, so on to the staff updates. Are there any other questions regarding the grants? Yes. Okay.
For both grants, are they under the city's grant? Like, are we just working with the city, or are we applying directly from the task force? So who would be managing?
The management, so the NLC portion would be the city. And then the Love Your Block grant, that would be specifically through the task force, but still through the city, if that makes
No,
sense.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of our grants require that, but I'm just thinking about management.
Mhm.
How much influence we would have on the distribution of those funds.
Fair.
Okay.
And I think that upon applying for that, more further conversation could be had regarding, the details about that.
And I would say, as part of the application, I think it would strengthen the direction to say that this task force is going to play an active role in engaging
Yeah.
groups to be active in empowering neighborhood organizations, whatever those preferences, et cetera. I think that would help in the application.
Great.
Just reading through the Love Your Block grant, the second paragraph says the grant has a mini grant component in which a neighborhood association will provide grants in the amount of $502,000. Would we be considered that neighborhood association in this grant or
So I had conversation.
Yeah, so, and this will be where kind of the city facilitation can come into play. So currently, the city has an office of neighborhood empowerment. And so I think where, to Dr. Ryan's point, where it would be critical would be for this task force to help inform, how these particular grants will be distributed. And the office of neighborhood empowerment could be the arm through which those grants are distributed, because they already do that.
This would be, I see, this additional funds.
Right, that would be for this specific purpose, as defined by the grant and partnership, how the task force would like to see those funds distributed. But we already have a mechanism to distribute those grants in the office of neighborhood empowerment.
We can influence that distribution, so that we've identified the gap already in communities, and so we could consider that and create an application or for this. Okay.
Or even maybe a resolution to kind of vote on some recommendations on those topics as possible.
Tiffany, who's the grantor? Just out of curiosity, is it a private foundation? Is it federal government, state?
It's not federal.
Okay.
I found it off the state
Okay.
website,
Just curious.
but it's not directly with the state. It's through John Hopkins University.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just curious. That makes sense then.
Yes.
From the last time we met, were you able to get in the grant for, that was due on June 20th, for the Business and Commerce Community Development?
So because of some of the restrictions, you have to have some items before city council beforehand, before it can even make it to, it has to be approved first. And based off of the timelines, that was not able to make it before at the time. Any other additional questions? All right, so then we can go ahead and move on to the next portion, which are the staff updates. So I've written out 2 different letters of support. One of which is from Moment Energy, and Dave, Mr. Miller, feel free to chime in whenever you're. Or if you want to take this part away and go ahead and give a little.
No, I mean, I think your summary describes it. The chamber just asked for the task force support in recruiting a company to Knoxville. This is Moment Energy. It's really a company that recycles battery components, and as you can imagine, that's likely to be something that's going to be a pretty big deal and a great opportunity down the road. And part of their process to determine where they locate Knoxville was one of the finalists was to really help demonstrate that they're investing in lower income communities. And so the chamber reached out to us and asked if the task force would help, lend its endorsement of the project, provided us a summary of Moment Energy's kind of plan. It really seemed to make a lot of sense. It would really help bring jobs, but they've also committed to, if they end up locating here, that there's federal grant dollars that would be invested in helping lower income neighborhoods. So to me, this is a great opportunity, but I think it's also, you could sort of see that the task force could play a broader role in other economic development opportunities like this in the future that'll be good for Knoxville, but also good for the specific communities that this task force is focused on. So
This is a little background on that. Somebody at the chamber actually reached out to me early in the process, and they didn't have the task force in mind. And I said for any economic development opportunities they have across the board, to know that this task force was here to help put a priority on investment in the community and jobs and so forth. And I think that's going to open up some more opportunities to be on their radar doing that. Because we don't want to be left being excluded from the economic development advice part of the problem.
We appreciate that because we have talked about some of the things that contributed to the inequities was lack of information, being at the table, not knowing these opportunities coming down the pipeline. So to be on the radar of the chamber as they bring in new business, and it's going to be great and helpful to have some influence in that space.
I suggest that they come, just
To
talk to us a little
yeah.
bit about other opportunities like this in the future too. So I think this is just the start.
Them as in the chamber?
The chamber, yes,
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
sorry, yeah, I had unclear pronoun use there. Yes, the chamber.
That it might be helpful also if groups themselves.
Yep.
And then the next opportunity is the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant. So this is actually a federal grant through the United States Department of Transportation. This was a collaborative proposal between the City of Knoxville's Office of Sustainability and the Engineering Department. In short, they applied for an $8 million award that focuses on improving the safety conditions of the East Magnolia corridor. So that includes the North Cherry and North Capsule Street segments. As we know, those two spaces have been locations for a lot of fatalities. And so the city has recognized that and is going about putting up more safety infrastructure around that area. And I will say the Moment Energy that came across my desk in June. Obviously, we didn't meet in June, and so that's why we're just hearing about the opportunity now. And then the Safe Streets and Roads for All was submitted on Friday, but I got rid of it on, I think, Thursday. And so these have really, really quick turnarounds as to why you guys are just now hearing about them. But per a conversation with our chair earlier today, I did mention that even when things are really last minute, I'm going to do my best to try and keep, especially the investment committee, in the loop about some of these more last minute opportunities, just so that we're all caught up when it comes time to this. All right. And then moving on right along, so I know that we did not have our committee meetings last month due to obviously various events, which thank you all for attending for the Folksy Games. Special shout out to these two, it was really fun participating in the Juneteenth parade. Dash, okay, I guess we can say both. Despite the rain.
So you were in charge of the weather.
Fair, stuff like that, right? But I do appreciate all those who were able to participate at the various Juneteenth events. And then I would love to take this opportunity to highlight two people. I'll first start with Gregory Glenn, if you wouldn't mind standing up. He is our Summer of the City intern, hailing from Webb High School. He did a tremendous help. Everything, oh my gosh, I thank you so much, Greg. The research aspects, all the literature that I've dumped in your desk, thank you so much. And then I also want to congratulate our newest staff member, Ms. Tiffany Davison, who will be stepping in as the facilitator, for the task force. So, everyone, please greet.
Come on up so we can see. How are you?
I'm good.
So when does this will start, next meeting or? Okay, thanks.
Alrighty, and so moving right along, we have a few proposed recommendations. So it was brought to my attention that the didn't vote on the verbiage for the investment committee bylaws. We had them drafted, and I think I sent it to everyone, but we never officially voted on the matter. And so, I'll go ahead and read off the verbiage for that, if you all want to.
This was something, just as a reminder, that was kind of wrapping up right around the time that Dr. Lomax switched jobs, and so this was something that just kind of slipped through the cracks around the holidays and around that transition time too. So we're just trying to bring everything back up to speed, get everything updated and in line.
Okay.
One of the things I would get is when we are meeting, we have a 2-day extended meeting time. If you want to send that verbiage out to allow time for review, and then we can just vote like at the beginning or straight into that time. Unless everyone feels prepared now.
I was trying to go back and find it.
Well, I can read it. Well, yeah,
It's
yeah.
not like that you can read it.
Yeah, fair. I do have it here. The investment committee language, to, in conjunction with the grant specialist, identify key areas of disparity and present strategies to infuse secured funds into the community to ameliorate such disparities. Check to read it off.
One more time.
This time, I'll do it slower. There we go. 2, in conjunction with the grant specialist, identify key areas of disparity and present strategies to infuse secured funds into the community to ameliorate such disparities. I'll say one of the components as to voting on it now compared to later would be, if we did it now, we have most of us here, and then it can already be here. Yeah.
I was thinking it was a much.
Yeah.
It's
No,
literally
little paragraph,
Yeah.
if that.
Can I get a motion to approve the investment committee description?
Move we so moved.
Second? I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
So at this point, I think we need a formal motion and vote to approve the bylaws.
As a whole. And so is that an amendment?
No, just a second motion and vote.
All right, so can I get a motion now to approve the bylaws for the tax force?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That too passes.
All right. So we have our speaker for today. Where is he? There we go. Mr. Kevin DuBose. I know a few meetings back, we had a discussion about getting more of an idea of the housing situation that we're experiencing here in Knoxville. Excuse me. And so I know that Mr. DuBose has a quick update for us. And I know we also charged him a few months back to also give like a quarterly update in a sense about kind of like the scope of the land. So whenever you're ready.
Yeah, thank you. So, Tiff, you mentioned I'll be coming quarterly with an update. And I have some information to share with you that will put in context our housing situation a little better for you. I'll go over it and then I'll leave you with some information to take home with you. I want to start with, HUD puts out every year, Stanley will remember this, income limits. And this is what apartments, folks who have Section 8 can charge for rent, and what incomes they can allow. And the numbers kind of blew me away a little bit, which is where things are. So there are 3 categories. One is called very low income, and that is defined as 50% of the area median. And then there's extremely low, which is defined as 30% of the area median. And then low income, which is 80% of the area median income.
I'm sorry, it's 50, then 30.
And yes. and then pay. Yeah, so typically when someone says low-income housing, it's 80% and below. So, let me tell you what that means in our community.
Of the median income.
Of the median income. So, income has soared in Knox County, city of Knoxville. A single person making $30,250 is considered very low income. A single person making $48,400 in Knoxville is low income. 48,000. A family of four with income of 43,200 is considered very low. 30,000 extremely low. And a family making 69,100 is still considered low income.
Family of four.
Family of four. So, the housing situation, to me, is a confluence of several different factors. One is inventory. And I really do think that from an inventory standpoint, Knoxville will close the gap. Meaning there are not enough affordable units right now. And so we need both more construction of low-income housing, plus you need construction of the upper-income housing too. See, what's happening now is folks who can afford to pay $2,000 a month for rent can't find anything. So they're competing with a person, can only pay $900. So, you want what is called NOAH, naturally occurring affordable housing. So I think those things will naturally catch up. There's reasons why we got in the deficit. That, there are 4,000 units of housing in the permanent development stage right now. The part that I think is unchecked, and no way to really control, is this income. And, so what it also means is, here's what, low-income housing providers can charge rent for an efficiency, $887.
For
For one bedroom, $952. Two bedroom, $1,156.
that's the cap?
Yeah.
Okay.
Three bedroom, get this, $1,507. For a four bedroom, $1,773. This is affordable housing, so, that's some of the, challenges ahead of us. I think the city has made some very wise investments. We have about 2,065 units that the city has directly invested in. And some of that is open already. Some of it will come online this year. And then others, are being finalized and built. And a lot of that is permanent supportive housing projects.
Is that in addition to the 4,000 units you alluded to before?
Yeah, that's including.
That's part of the 4,000.
Yes.
So the private sector is only generating 1,400 to 4,000.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of apples and oranges, because I'm saying 104,000
Yep.
is moving through the system right now.
Oh, I got you.
And 2,000, we're doing, some of it's built already.
I got you.
Some of it's, so it's not totally.
I got you.
I put out there. When I was here last time, I got some questions about the units that the city has invested in. And so we do annual monitoring, and I have that broken down by development. And then we brought the leave behind to you. It will show which percentage. I'll just pull out a few, like, South Side Flats, 65% of it is extremely low income. 24% is low and moderate income. Young high flats, 50% very low. I'm sorry, extremely low, and the rest is very low. What we're finding is pretty close to 90% of the ones that we've invested in are in, people rated them on extremely low or very low, and very few are low income. Nobody over the low income, 80%. Okay. So we're monitoring that year to year, and as new units come online. I also had a question last time about construction costs, and you'll see it here. I have provided some information on affordable housing development that we participated in, sponsored, worked with a nonprofit developer on, as well as down payment assistance. And comparing 2018 to 2022, the average cost for rehab construction was $150,000 in 2018, and the last house we did was $212,000. The cost for new construction is $155 a square feet, which is up from $85 a square feet. So that question is asked. I have some breakdowns on that, which is requiring us to invest deeper into the development projects, down payment assistance projects, which makes our money a little thinner, but we're able to still get development projects through, just albeit as spending. So with that synopsis, I'll pass this out here and answer your questions.
All right, so thank you, Kevin. I think for me, if I get any calls, the majority of them are related to housing and accessibility to housing. One of my questions with those in development, and I saw a number, and I thought it was like 22,000, but do we know what our shortage is by population? So based on the people we have, they're looking for homes.
Yeah, so what I know presently is that by 2040, we have to build 20,000 houses.
Okay.
Okay.
We have 4,000 in the pipeline.
By 20,000.
So
2040.
by 2040. So that number comes from the NOx planning, and we are trying now to do a strategy based on those projections to really determine at each income level what does that mean. So I have a big number, so I need to go. We're working on is trying to figure out within that 20,000 how should it look. And so, as we progress on
So we're looking about 60 years out.
yeah, it's you want to look today, but you also want to look long range, and you want to align your resources so that you're closing the gap every year, but also you want to get your long-term projections. So we need to know what that is, just from a planning standpoint.
Well, yeah, I hope you don't want to repeat, the dilemma over and over, so it makes sense to look out. But in response to people looking down, we don't, in 16 years, we're going to have it all fixed. And so I'm just curious about what we're short now. If we can get that, would be one question.
Well, according to the Planning Commission, NOx was 99% full. Okay, but it feels worse than that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It feels worse than that. So, we, for the first time, maybe one of the time in our history, our community has not gone like this. The period between 1990 and 2005, about 1,800 persons. I think I mentioned that last time. We're close to growing by 18 persons a year. There's been decades in our city where we haven't grown at all. So there was one other fast growing look at it decade by decade. But right now, we're in an all-time growth period, you know, and so that 99% number, you know, is very, and who feels it the worst are your lower incomes, you know, persons with less options, you know, because they're competing with the more people.
So that's the other, issue. You mentioned the cost of the 3 bedrooms and the 4 bedrooms. And what I've tried to explain to them, if you're in the real estate business, that's not a charity. And so it's very difficult because those who are in real estate and who have these properties are often looking to make a profit. That's what they're doing. So what I think we got to figure out is how to incentivize them or what we can do, because if the cap is 1,500 and you have someone willing to pay you 2,500, you know, it's.
They couldn't with public funds, so this.
Well, what I mean is I understand there's a shortage of people willing to apply to qualify for that housing because they're pulling out of it. Because they are limited with that cap when they know they can make much more if they come out of that pool.
You're exactly right. We have a lot of Section 8 homeowners pull out because of the value of their properties have skyrocketed, the ability to charge more. Yeah, right about that. So.
I don't know the solution, but I'm just going to
Yeah, and we have some ideas, and one idea that when we bring you back to you all, or to talk with Tiffany about it, is so I'd like to partner with the task force and do some, you know, work to try to spur more indigenous investment. You know, my folks who live in the neighborhoods, you know, a buy block series type thing.
Right.
You know, I think it's going to take some time. But, you know, I think there's people in our community who are capable of getting in the game. So.
And then that brings us to my third point is you mentioned the blacks and the investments, and we do need affordable housing, but we also want to look at ownership. I don't want to, you know, increase our number of homelessness. I don't want people to have the insecurity of housing, and so having that is fine, and it may be good. But we also need to figure out how to shift some of them. If you got 90% of low income in apartments, we can't build wealth in our neighborhoods that way. So that's something else.
So across the board, you know, home sales are down. But particularly with low income and low and moderate income, you know, things have slowed to a sales rate. And we are looking at what other cities are doing, you know, a way of equity and empowerment to you know, close this very gap in the season. So hopefully as time progresses, we will bring some real ideas on how to do that.
Well, I know, and I believe I can speak for the task force that we would be happy to partner with you on those efforts. That is one of the tenets that we're very interested in. I think I saw for the first time in history, our median house or real estate price in Knoxville exceeds the national average. So I want to ask, because I think either I read it wrong or I'm understanding it wrong.
Sounds right.
But, okay.
That's wondering. Definitely, our occupancy rates are among the highest in the nation.
Right. So all of that's going to factor into whatever solution we can come up with. Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments?
I have a question, and I guess I didn't see it in the handout that you handed out. You said 99% pool. What was that? What was that pool from? What was it based on?
Yeah, the Knox planning is our land use planning organization, and they have done some background for this housing strategy. And that was quoted, not here, remember, the 99 but, paraphrasing. They reported to their projection. They're looking, they have census information, they have permanent available, so they're able to kind of the existing condition And so, you know, I need to see, I've asked them to update it as of last December. We were not able to sort of number, could have moved by then.
So it's 99% of land use,
This is, full units.
Oh,
Yeah.
So they'll go down. So we,
It's just all housing, period. You know, so whatever the balance is, balance would be vacancy.
wow.
Yes, that's yeah.
so 1% vacant, that's all.
It's less than 1%.
Out of every 100 houses, we have one of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if that vacancy rate was 9 to 10%, you would see a real reflection on house sales, rents and all that.
Hey, Kevin, the last 2 pages, the
Yeah.
homeowner development funds and the down payment assistance.
Yeah.
Is it fair to assume this is an exhaustive list of,
It's everybody's money.
okay, so what strikes you is the last few years, it hadn't been many.
Yeah.
Can I also assume it's not a matter of we've spent all the funds, but we're just not seeing demand for the funds that are there? What can we do to drive more of this activity?
Yeah, the pandemic slowed down things, these are long lead type things.
Yep.
You know, so you have a client and they'll have code efficiencies.
Yep.
And they'll come, that, our team will need to find them a place to live.
Okay.
And to get all that sorted out.
Yep.
Do a contract, so you're talking a 2-year process. So during the pandemic, you know, kind of slowed it down.
Yep.
But it's picking back up.
How about in a homeowner development, which I'm assuming is people already own a home but are looking for funds to help them rehab it?
Yeah.
That wouldn't seem to have the same
Yeah, it's
long lead time issue, or does it?
That's one, yeah, I'm referring to.
That as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so, just to give you some context, 20 years ago, we were, probably in the 40, 50 of those per year.
Yep.
And, 8 years ago, probably like 15 to 20.
Yep.
And so another factor that I haven't talked about is the funding source on that is $1.5 million less. We're an entitlement city, means that we get a community development block grant, and the other source is called home funds,
Okay.
home investment. And home is the source of our housing rehab. And we're, you know, from when I worked for the city before, when I came back, it's $1 million difference, as well as the prices going up.
Yep.
You know, so there's a confluence of changes there.
Got it.
So yeah, it is a less rate of reduction there.
Opportunity.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right.
So, the next thing we're preparing for are 2 dates in July. But we're really gonna nail down, some action plans. But I want to remind us that a part of our task, yes, doing things, but listening to what others are doing to make sure that that's the way. So we're going to move into that. We talked about committees, and Tiffany, I did have an opportunity to speak. We want to refresh our calendars about when now the committees are meeting, but we'll do that when we meet for our retreat. We also looked at a template, I sent her an idea today, so that it's a kind of fill in the blank to make it easy to follow. We will meet and report to get some consistency that way. If anybody, I don't think anybody's bad reason, so we shouldn't have anything for our committee reports. Now, we want to back up. Tiffany, you mentioned participating in Juneteenth, and I talked with you today about the oath of office coming up. Did you find out any information as far as how the task force, okay? One of the things we're going to look at is how the task force can support or invest in that. The vet has done a lot of great work, particularly around equity and equality and justice. And so that makes sense, but I also want to see about our attendance and support of the 8th of August at Tennessee Theater. this particular year, the content of the film and all of that will be very much in alignment and informed what we do. It really has an equity and justice lens. So, Tiffany, when we find out, we'll let you know. I'm looking at hopefully start getting tickets to attend. Spoke with Renee today and to see what else we need to do. That's a great forum to inform the community about our existence and all of that. So we'll flush that out. And of course, we'll be talking July before the 8th, so we'll do that.
Madam Chairman,
Yes,
to say that, I do know that we can do it as a task force, but there are sponsorships there at the event as well. So if we want to think about sponsorships or something like that, and increments that may be another way of supporting.
yes, and I'd like to get that sooner versus later because we're sending the video over to the Tennessee Theater Wednesday. And so if we want the African American History Task Force to grow with other sponsors, we need to kind of let them know. Is that something we will need to vote on? And if so, can we do,
There's money attached.
no, will it be money attached? So how do we,
As far as making a recommendation?
no, what I want to do is to have some investment or sponsorship for the 8th of August. So our local emancipation. And then including us having the ability to show up and be recognized at that event with involved students. So do we need a motion for funds to be contributed to for that purpose? Because we won't meet again before we need to turn it in. So, and can you do a free vote?
I think you can, I think you would want to specify an up to specific dollar amount figure. And we would want to make sure that, we won't have funding current, that we can support that. I mean, I don't think that's an issue, but, I think you would just want to make sure that the motion had the up to cap limit for that.
Can you quickly see how much the tickets are?
I believe, I was trying to pull it up, I didn't.
The tickets are
It's only about $50.
$50. Individual tickets are $50.
But I don't know if that's before a certain time or.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
That's correct. I saw that, I didn't remember the amount. So I know Knox County Schools sends a group of people. I know in the past, the city and county has as well. Can we be included in the group send? Can you ask that? If not, we want to make sure that that amount at least is included, in addition to the sponsorship.
We can find that out in terms of the number of slots that are currently available based on current donation to the bank, which is not small.
Right, now, it's not,
So,
I think it's important.
depending on, I know this is a specialized
Yeah.
event, like we give a general contribution to the event from the city. And so for a specialized event, I know that sometimes there are slots available because we don't see how many those are. And if they are, it's like, 2 or 3 people, then we will need to look at doing something very specifically for the task force.
Okay, so let's say you have 2 seats available. How many do you need?
There are 11 members of the task force.
You would 50, 12, 13, so let's say 15.
And we would already, like, so First Horizon's a sponsor, so you probably wouldn't need to cover me per se. So, And I'm sure not everybody's gonna be available.
AB as
Yeah.
well, so I won't be the cover. But
So if we
I'm
want-
trying to get ready for this motion, so.
if we want 10 tickets, $500, we could,
Yeah.
you know, help with that amount. I mean, that'd be sufficient. We could donate to the community if we need to.
Okay, so 10 tickets and a sponsorship, let's say, if we need to vote on that amount up too.
Up
So
to.
can I get a recommendation for that amount? What would be?
What was the amount?
Huh?
Which is this month?
That's what I'm asking, because when I spoke with her today, they do have levels of sponsorship, but she is willing to, whatever we can do as a task force, and I understand the city's giving money. I think it's very important that the African American Task Force have a name with the African American, culture and museum especially the equity work. I don't want it to be kind of under the umbrella. I want it to be a little more visible. Although we are very appreciative of what the city's investing in our and I know it's a sizable amount, so we're looking for great things, but I think it's important that we're saying that.
Madam Chair, with $1,500, too much 500 for, 10 tickets, and then another 1,000 for sponsorship.
Sounds great to me.
What kind of sponsorship would that represent?
Okay, so because she's kind of,
Did you cut out the deal?
basically.
I got you.
I'm sorry, I didn't know, thank you.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
So then can we get a motion for up to $1,500, which would cover cost of tickets and an additional sponsorship for, the 8th of August, Red Carpet Gala at the Tennessee Theater?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Now, who's second?
Brandon.
So we do not have anybody signed up for public forum. That cool. There were remarks to it.
Are we good to go with this now? So you'll let us know legally if we can do it or how we're gonna do it, but now that we voted, we can move forward. The big sponsorship.
We can, yeah, we can probably reach out to Reverend Kessler and coordinate with her, try to figure out her name on
Remember, she's leaving the country now.
that. It's not her, okay.
That's why I was saying we're trying to get everything to the Tennessee Theater by Wednesday. Now, is it sunshine? We can talk. Yeah, I can talk to them, right? Okay, just talk to them, we'll figure it out. Okay, so, back to, we didn't have anyone sign up for public forum, and we do have a lot of community members here, which I appreciate. One of the processes is that we do that, what time is it? 5:51. All right, we do have a community member who wants to speak, in order to go outside of that, since we didn't have anyone sign up. We said that we need a motion, how do we
Just to suspend, just the motion to suspend.
then a motion to suspend the rule. Before we do that, I'm all in favor, because I know we all talked about wanting to hear our community, but let me put this out there. It is our preference, because right now it's easy. There are gonna be times as things develop where there might be, more sensitive topics, more things that need to be aired, and we will need to have people to sign up, or we wouldn't be able to manage it. But for today, I'm willing to entertain a motion that we suspend.
And just remind me, I think there are also time limits
It is.
related to that. Say, are we just suspending, we're going to allow a speaker, but will we still try to?
We're not suspending the
limit?
time,
Okay.
just suspending the part that,
Pre-sign up.
that pre-signed.
Got it. I'll make that motion that we suspend that rule for today's meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can you remind us of the time?
Now it's 5.
No, the time. Is it 2 minutes?
I think it's up to 3 minutes, let me double check on that. Oh, it's 5 minutes.
Okay, all right. You, first state your name and address, then,
Yes, my name is Stephen White, 3418 Madison Avenue, Tennessee, 3794. And I'm here to present a proposal on behalf of Inwood Addition Park, All-in-One Political Action Committee. And so what we are seeking to do is outline a proposal that I have here, and I just want to know if I can pass it out.
That's fine.
All right, cool. So I'll start.
Take the time to talk.
So there are two proposals. One is the proposal that Alvin has drafted. The other one is a proposal that the Knoxville Entrepreneurship Center sign the city of Knoxville. And so, what I'm seeking to do, what all in one, or APAC is seeking to do, is to be a third party to an extent, but its own certain entity that focuses on entrepreneurship on behalf of the African American community. So, the entrepreneurship center has, there are two different proposals, so let me just also give you the right. There's 10 copies. So, the National Entrepreneurship Center was running to fiscal year 2022, funded by the city of Knoxville. Pretty much, according to the proposal, we have $380,000. So, what I'm seeking to do, or the reason that APAC is providing its own proposal to do, they're not the same, very similar, is because they have minority-based programs such as Aaertf Hospital, but they currently don't have, or at least at the point of when I discovered their partnership with City of Knoxville. You can view that if the fiscal year 22 City of Knoxville budget is still available. It's on there. So I obtained the document just via City of Knoxville representative who deals with record keeping, and so it's public information. And so the idea is behind the minority-based program. However, they currently do not have any minorities that work within the organization. And so I just feel like instead of trying to get them to do anything different, I just feel like maybe you could be funded to actually carry out work that's relevant to what they're doing, but not necessarily focusing on what they're doing, but utilizing their current partnership, or if it's not current, utilizing the current proposal as a tool to service us in servicing the city and the community with entrepreneurship. I just believe that if the city of Knoxville believes in the national entrepreneurship plan to be funded $8,000, and they have a million program for at least one, there are minorities, maybe we could be, again, an entity that allows that to become more fulfilled in terms of their proposal, but if not, then we can all in one or a that actually service as a kind of checks and balances system. So again, our ask is 300. If I haven't mentioned that, it's in the proposal, and I feel like if given the opportunity to prove that we're capable of fulfilling the same proposal that the KC, or National Entrepreneurship Center, was planning to do, then I think it would allow the African American community to know that entrepreneurship is supported by the mayor and the city council, and all the other representatives that are relative to the proposal being provided.
So which one do you have? I have the agreement for services,
Probably this one.
C20502.
Is it just one document or is it two?
So the difference is going to be right here in the body, one says Knoxville Entrepreneurship Center and the other says all in one.
Correct.
So,
I got you.
In your contact information, in which we can reach back out. All in one was established when,
There were 2 parts. There's a work property is also to apply to the city of Knoxville as a non-profit.
and we'll share, I was trying to get a few questions before.
Yes, so I just recently, 2023, created a 501c4, which is a political action committee. It's also considered a nonprofit, and so I believe that it is based, but I think it's the best organizational structure for the type of work, even though KC is a 501c3. So we created this year in response to them to Ms. Summons and just kind of following I guess a general guideline for how to partner with task force as well as city council.
Now, so what I think is gonna happen now is we will review the proposals. And These are time to process this and then get back to you with any questions or opportunities. The first grant you mentioned, was about small business development, entrepreneurship, that type of thing. And so it's gonna take more than just in this moment to figure it out, but possibly partnering or filtering those grant opportunities, aligning them with people in the community who want to do that work, is a possibility. So, you'll have to read through this, of course, more than right now, but I appreciate you bringing it before the committee because I believe this is exactly what we're looking for, what we're hoping for. Is to inspire or ignite these ideas that are grown out of the communities we're trying to serve. So, Ron, right? Steph?
Yes.
Oh, I got you.
Kind of left that out there.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Anything else from committee members?
Let's see. I do have, and I'm going to turn this over to you, Madam Chair, about information that is coming out of California regarding California Reparations Council as newly sold for slavery, and great information here for committees to follow up on that information, and also what they're doing in California state level. At the state level, they're passing a resolution at the state level, and that resolution will go directly to the reparations for California, what they're looking at in terms of, it goes into detail, so I can have the information here, I can turn it over and give you that.
I think that's a great idea. If we still have the students, the interns, okay. As we get, as we prepare for July, that information along, I try to contact a lot of areas in some form, or look at how to repair or restore some of the harm that's been done. And I'd like to just kind of see, is there a common trend? Is there something that sticks out that people are considering to be successful or impactful for other cities or areas that are doing the same work? That we can consider that when we're doing back planning.
I went ahead and charged Jordan with the task of making what he's collected so far into a presentation. Potentially it's something that we can talk about during the strategy workshops. But yeah, it is something that's currently being created.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
I'll just highlight one other thing too. I think everybody's got a copy of our bank at First Horizon and several other organizations are working together on a series of financial empowerment workshops on July the 20th. Sort of a reference and allusion to the notion if you've got a credit score that's in the 700s, ideally in the mid to high 700s, it dramatically changes your ability to get a loan. It can impact whether a landlord will rent to you. So it's a really important part of the access to capital. And since home ownership and small business ownership is a big deal for this task force, just want to make everybody aware. The handout includes a QR code and a link to all the classes. They're all free and provided by everybody from First Horizon to the United Way and other resources. Several of them are in East Knoxville as well, and several of them are also in Spanish for those that for whom that's important. So anyway, I just wanted to call everyone's attention to that resource and the fact that there's 10 or so different organizations that are working together to make these kind of resources available to the community. So appreciate you prompting me to mention that today.
Thank you.
Then one more staff announcement. And I apologize, I walked off without bringing the flyers for it. But on August 12th, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., the Office of Neighborhood Empowerment is hosting a resource fair. A community resource fair. It's open to anyone in the community to come and get information about resources, services, programs that exist in our community right now. I think we have over 75 tables that will be set up with information. So that'll be from 9 to 12 at the Jacobs Building. There'll be food and activities. And so anytime you want to come throughout that time frame, I would encourage folks to come. That's from 9 to 12 at the Jacobs Building on August 12th. And this is a place, if you ever went to the neighborhood conference, that would be kind of like the big room, tables and all that. And so this is, instead of having all the different breakout sessions that people go to kind of tour about where they can go to, just having a big resource there that folks can spend time talking to all the different resources.
And these resources aren't ones necessarily owned by the city, like the other.
Correct.
Like anybody has, okay.
Correct.
And now, so is that the Saturday, do you know, before or after school starts? It's the Saturday after school starts.
And what's the name of the event? What was it called?
It's just the neighborhood resource fair.
Will you email
Thank you.
me?
The flyer, yes, thank you.
You know, I'm church raised, I started to say all minds and hearts. But if we don't have anything else, can I get a motion to adjourn? I can't quit, second. Any opposed? Oh, y'all in favor? Was that a you?
That's it.
And you're spending no doubt these things, I'll take it. Thank y'all, see you in July. Thank you.